Over the last few years, music from Australia has become more successful and definitely more exciting. Formed in Sydney in 1977, the world is waking up to Midnight Oil.
Out where the river broke, the bloodwood and the desert oak.
This is primarily on the plight of the Aborigine minority in Australia. It's already Australian Album of the Year. When you consider that Midnight Oil has a top 20 place in America and a #1 in Canada, you realise that the band are on the verge of worldwide success, like fellow Aussies In Excess before them. For their sold-out shows in London, Midnight Oil also impressed with their inventive stage set, which is built specifically to highlight the outback environment.
Most Aussies live in urban settlements in the big cities on the East Coast. We've grown up still, if we're white Australians, with almost like an evolutionary or genetic longing for green fields and water. And when you go over the Great Dividing Range in Australia and go west, which 90% of the country is west of the divide, you enter a landscape which seems very barren, very inhospitable. There are scorpions, there are snakes, there are spiders, there are crocodiles, there are buffaloes, there are all sorts of things. There's no water out there. A lot of our literature has been taken up with this idea that there's a real Australia just sort of over the back, out the back door, but we don't really know how to relate to it.
Don't serve your country, don't serve your king. Know your custom, don't speak your tongue. White man came, took everyone.
Their controversial new single, Dead Heart, is a direct attack on white rule and land ownership in Australia.
Serve your country, don't serve your king. White man, listen to the songs we sing. White man came, took everything.
The history of white and black relations in Australia aren't all bad. It's just that for many years, white Australians didn't think Aboriginal people would survive. As well as that, the legal institutions of the country have been based on the idea that the land was vacant when we arrived, that it was terra nullius, vacant land. It wasn't. Those people had lived there for 40,000 years. Now, we have to recognise that the Aboriginal people were the previous owners and occupiers of Australia. That is a first step which hasn't happened at home. And we don't have any treaties, we don't have any negotiations, we don't have any settlements at all. There are sub-people in our own country.
Midnight Oil.
Our association with Aboriginal people goes back some time, and in particular, the first major instance happened when we were approached to write a song for a film which celebrated the handing back of Ayers Rock, Uluru, to the Pitjantjatjara people. That was Dead Heart. Subsequent to that, we had Aboriginal bands supporting us when we played in the cities, including a band called the Warumpi Band and a couple of other bands, Culled and Scrap Metal and various others. We also received invitations from those bands to come back and play in the areas that they come from in their home. So with some of the royalties from Dead Heart and some assistance which we received, Warumpi Band and Midnight Oil went into the settlements outside of Alice Springs, right through the Western Desert, to very remote regions, some places where the people have only gone back to their land after assimilation policies brought them into camps 10 or 15 years ago. And we were going into communities, we were playing with Warumpi Band. Quite often we were supporting them because they were kind of the Rolling Stones of the desert. Yeah, it was good fun. And we were sitting down and talking to people and finding out what was really going on out there, because, to be honest, at school we don't learn much about Aboriginal people, and we don't grow up that close to them in Australia, and a lot of what we get through Murdoch media, and that's a pretty horrible view, so we had to go there and find out for ourselves.
Up next, Lenore goes walkabout in the Arizona bush with